$75,000 a year will get $350. Those who make less than $125,000 a year will get $250, and those who make less than $250,000 a year will get $200. Taxpayers with dependents will get an additional $350. The most the family can get is $1,050.
I think that would be very helpful. It sounds kind of amazing, honestly.
Ray Vargas knows how he'll spend it.
315,000 jobs last month, and the unemployment rate rose to 3.7%. That is up from 3.5% in August. Economists expected the U.S. to gain roughly 300,000 jobs last month, without the unemployment rate budging. And while the unemployment rate rose by 0.2 percentage points, the labor force participation rate also rose by 0.3 percentage points to 62%. Rising unemployment and slowing job gains are rarely good news for an economy, but the August jobs report showed the economy is moving toward ample job growth and lower inflation. The U.S. has recovered all of the 21 million jobs lost at the onset of the crisis, and has already added close to 3 million jobs in 2022 alone. But businesses have still struggled to hire enough workers to meet intense demand from consumers even after raising wages at rapid rates. Economists and policymakers have been concerned that the national labor shortage could be fueling high inflation, and by forcing businesses boost wages and prices quickly. As the size of the workforce increases, businesses have an easier time finding workers without having to raise wages at rapid rates. That can also help businesses keep their prices stable and set momentum from inflation. There's a new deadline to apply for $1,000 checks. The Biden administration has announced that immediate action is being taken to help people that are experiencing difficulties. Now, stimulus checks are finally getting more support. Residents that live in the state of Maine are very lucky. The Maine governor has announced that residents are in line for a relief check. It comes after the governor signed a $1.2 billion budget into law. Among other things, the legislation feature includes funding for eligible Maine individuals to get $850 checks, while the average payment would also be $1,700 for the average household. The Mills administration has confirmed several details on new relief, and now payments will be eligible for this and people will be eligible for this check. Eligibility also depends on filing a 2021 Maine individual income tax return. Those eligible must have a federal adjusted gross income of less than $100,000 if singled or if married, and filing separately. Importantly, unlike many other stimulus programs, including those at the federal state level, the state of Maine is taking effort to help its residents. The relief legislation that Mills proposed got near unanimous approval from the state legislature. These checks are thanks to a state surplus.
Here now, Daniel Turner, Power the Future Executive Director. Daniel, great to see you tonight. Looking at these rebate checks, I'm thinking to myself, people don't want to shell out the money and they can't necessarily wait to get a rebate check in the mail. Why can't we actually just do something to bring prices down, like pump oil?
Yeah, you'll notice in all these proposals, they never include anything to increase our supply, which is the only real and secure and stable way to lower prices down. And this example of New Mexico, the governor there, Michelle Lujan Grisham, she's in real trouble, and it's an election year. Her state had one of the worst recoveries coming out of COVID. They have one of the highest unemployment rates in the nation. She imposed mask mandates longer than I believe almost every other state, except for the city of Washington, D.C. And so this is a political gesture. This is trying to tell the constituents, hey, ignore the fact that I've driven the state into the ground. Maybe if I throw more government money at you, I can get your vote come November.
Right. It doesn't make sense to me because I'm thinking about the government just writing more checks, and we've seen the kind of mess that's already gotten us into. So you think about that aspect of it. And
I know many of you are wondering what the status is of the $2,000 stimulus checks, as well as who can expect to receive one of these checks. In this video, I'll be going over the confirmed schedule for the $2,000 extra relief checks, everybody, so you want to be sure to continue watching. Millions of Americans benefited financially in 2021 from the enhanced child tax credits, but this year there are changes, and many households are wondering if there will be payments and when the deadline is. While as part of the American Rescue Plan signed into law by the president, the child tax credits were expanded to up to $3,600 per child from the previous $2,000. And while not everyone took advantage of the payments, which started in July 2021 and ended in December last year, eligible parents were awarded with up to $300 per month. The program served as a means to help cash-strapped parents meet the cost of childcare amid the crisis. This year, because the enhanced child tax credit was not expanded and extended by lawmakers, it goes back to its previous level. Millions of tax-paying American parents will see the federal credit revert back to $2,000 per child this year. This is in line with the program offered from before the 2021 expansion. That means for this 2022 tax year, the money will be distributed in the form of a single end-of-year tax credit, per the previous program from the IRS. But this will either reduce the size of the recipient's tax bill or increase the tax refund. Children must be ages 16 and younger to be eligible for the support, and their total income cannot exceed $400,000 on a joint return of $200,000. Of those incomes, a $50 decrease would apply for every $1,000 in additional income. President Biden has previously called to extend child tax credit payments until 2025. The Biden administration is also relaunching its efforts to reach families whose incomes are so low they don't even have to file taxes and direct them to an online portal where they can submit information needed to claim the credit. The online tool launched last fall was not available during the tax filing season to encourage people to file full returns, which will allow them to claim other tax credits. And more than 115,000 families used the portal to claim around $440 million in tax benefits last fall. About 25,000 households claimed the child tax credit, and the rest for stimulus checks that they had not received. So parents who received half the credit in monthly installments last year can use the tool to claim the remaining amount. Those who miss out on the monthly payments can file for the full credit by submitting simplified returns on the portal. And the theme of the last year for the IRS has been piles of paper, as the understaffed and underfunded agency deals with an unprecedented backlog of unprocessed tax returns that built up crisis responsibilities. Now the IRS is taking a major step towards getting those returns processed and out the door. This week, it's set to finally clear its backlog of 8 million returns filed in 2021. Original returns refer to the 1040 tax return individuals taxpayers pay every single year. And the backlog the IRS will clear this week includes returns that did not have errors. The agency has also been contending with a separate backlog of amended returns, where filers have to submit new information to complete their return after filing. The backlog could mean good news for Americans who've been waiting on refund checks, with 75% of filers receiving refunds annually.
Check out the moves in the big banks today. They soared in today's broader market rally. So let's now bring in Bill Nygren, Oakmark Fund partner and portfolio manager. Now the financials carry the biggest weighting in the Oakmark Fund. So Bill, do you feel good about the banks?
Yeah, and at Oakmark, we don't feel good because they went up today. We feel good because they're selling at PE discounts to the market that they have rarely sold at before. And we think especially the big banks are much better businesses today than they were a decade ago, 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago. I think there's kind of a knee-jerk reaction among investors that when the talk turns to recession, they think what industries were hurt in the past 2 recessions, and not really thinking that the past 2 recessions were more generational. The pandemic and the great housing recession in '08 were much larger than recessions that have been typical throughout my career.